Hello everybody, CVH here, and today we're going to be playing some mid-range Battlemage on the ladder. I've seen a couple versions of this deck around recently, and I thought I'd bring it back on the channel and throw out my own version, post the Forgotten Hero collection. It's a very proactive deck and a very straightforward deck. I made some interesting card choices compared to normal. I am playing Lumbering Ogrims. I just wanted something really huge and really threatening on turn forward. I think it works pretty well with the Withered and Cultist as well. I'm also trying out 2 copies of Cradle Crush Giant in here. I tested this card a bit after the expansion's release, or the mini expansion's release rather, and I do think it's pretty powerful, but I'd like to get some more testing in with it as well. It could be a solid card for when we want to keep developing our threats, but also we have a problematic lane to deal with. Maybe an aggro opponent is flooding the shadow lane, and we have to stop the incoming damage, but also we need to start keeping the clock up against them and making sure we can kill them in a reasonable amount of time. Besides that, I think most things are pretty straightforward. We are playing 15 Prophecies here. I did cut one of the Earthbone Spinners just because I wanted to make sure I had as many proactive threats as possible, but a third Earthbone Spinner, totally fine in the deck. And I do think this deck should perform pretty well, so hopefully you guys enjoyed the video and the gameplay, and as always, if you do, feel free to leave a like and stay subscribed for more Legends content. Follow my stream in the description, and I'll see you next time. Yeah, ship back one Wardcrafter, got a warrior. I'm gonna assume it's more aggressive. There's a pretty solid mid-range warrior with a couple Wood Orc Headhunters. Not super heavy on the orcs, but it is playing Wood Orc Headhunters. It's been going around recently. I actually think I did a video on it for the channel, so you guys have probably seen it here or there.
By Arca's beard, this day will be mine.
Careful there, friend.
Could also just be regular orcs, and it could be something totally different. I know Cradle Crush Giant has made a lot of people feel like they should experiment with a more control-oriented decks using strength.
The longer the odds, the sweeter. Confound you!
Okay, so we will have to sacrifice our Wardcrafter, but we do have a pretty decent Skaven Pyromancer this turn.
Your blood will spill.
This isn't really what this deck wants to be doing, just focusing on clearing, but we're up against another aggressive deck. Even more of an aggressive deck than we are. And he did get the ring, so he's capable of a lot of powerful starts.
We'll see how they like someone who fights back. Confound you!
We'd love a 2-drop or 1-drop to pair with the Wardcrafter. We did not get it. So in that case, we could just use a Sentinel Battlemace here. It makes this even more of a threat that he feels inclined to deal with. I think that's probably fine to make him play Blood Dragon next turn, almost definitely. After he spends additional magic to clear this.
I'll kill you where you stand.
And then Wardcrafter could weave in easier to a different play later on. Because we know it's orcs, we can probably infer that he's not playing Skaven Pyromancer, maybe not Rapid Shot, probably not Sharpshooter Scout. So, I mean, I feel like he's gonna have to do something. Okay, more cool Gatekeeper, that could definitely work. I don't feel too bad about it though. He does have a Gatekeeper on the board against a Blood Dragon this turn. So if I had that last turn, I would have been able to do them both, and that would have been better for sure. But we'll see what happens. Moving into 6 Magicka, if we get any 1, 2, or 3 drop, we can go Wardcrafter, Quartermaster, and whatever we draw. And Warrior doesn't really have a good time dealing with wide boards like that, unless they're a control version with Unstoppable Rages. Seems fine with me. Just trade for the 2/2. We have the, if we want to keep the Blood Dragon super healthy, we could just Wardcrafter it up. Or we could just develop another Blood Dragon. I want to play Quartermaster Shadow Lane. Just gonna get something out over there. I think the Blood Dragons are gonna force our opponent into the Shadow Lane anyway. So we have Quartermaster to fight if he plays multiple things. Belligerent Giant can definitely bounce at least one of them back. I don't know how you compete with 2 Blood Dragons on the board against nothing though. It's gonna be kinda tough. And we're at too high of a life total to worry about just being bursted down by charged creatures. So 4 Magicka for the 2 damage on the first Blood Dragon. I might not have a great turn if he doesn't play anything, as weird as that is. Because I can't Jarl this turn. Alright, that's a fine belligerent giant target.
Do your worst.
Do you not fear me, mortal? You should.
Earthbone Spinner is not bad. Can Earthbone Spinner and use the Blood Dragon to clear. We could even Earthbone Spinner that and just take the 5 full clear. Let's see. We don't really need to deal with that, right? Not feeling too pressured to do so.
The forest will not suffer your presence.
But I will remove this.
Do your worst.
Tawaka watches over me.
So you can play something else, trade 1 for 1 with the Spirit, and get a buff on something. Even if it's a charge creature, I don't think he can really efficiently clear too much of this board. And if he can, it's going to take his entire turn, most of his resources that he can play, and then we can just refill our hand, refill our board, keep hitting for a lot. Oh, I just realized the list on the screen wasn't correct. Do I have the correct list? I added a Reeve. Okay, there we go.
There's nowhere they can hide.
Yeah, I actually took out the 3rd Earthbone Spinner for the Reeve. You guys saw that in the intro, but for some reason I cropped the screenshot before that. Well, there's the correct deck list at least. Hopefully that wasn't too confusing.
The hunter becomes the hunted.
Alright, we should have lethal here. Gonna go to try to bypass. Just in case there is a prophecy that deals damage, like a random sharpshooter scout, I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Okay. Might as well play around that though. 3, 3, and 7 should get there. I don't think I can really afford to keep 3s against Sorcerer with the ring when I don't have any 2s or the ring. Just gonna full ship and try to get Crown Quartermaster or a 2-drop, and we get at least half of the equation.
I keep a spare blade in my boot. Careful there, friend.
Okay, well this is not a good turn
Do your worst.
because we did not get the 2-drop. And like, he gets 2 cards, so 99% of the time he's gonna be able to play something here.
Your blood will spill.
Unless it was like the worst mulligan of all time. My only play is Morkel Gatekeeper, which I'm just gonna have to use to kill the Wardcrafter, I think. I'd rather be proactive, but I don't know if I can really race this if I play Morkel this turn. I mean, maybe we can. But it sucks to lose the field lane already. We have Lightning Bolt to deal with Mammoth if we need to. Using this 3-cost card as a 1 damage action doesn't feel good.
Close ranks, let nothing through.
If Wardcrafter wasn't there, it'd be pretty easy. But in reality, it just gets Firebolted and negated a lot of the time anyway. Not even bothering to contest.
Your blood will spill.
I don't know if I would either, honestly.
Honor and blood.
Earthbone Spinner takes away some of the damage while adding a little bit more damage. I could just bolt and take away more damage, but then I'm not developing anything. I think I need to start developing things.
The forest will not suffer your presence.
That was my phone, not yours. I've never seen that number before in my life. Interesting to negate the smaller one. I guess he wants the card. Assuming he's playing good amount of prophecies, if that's the case. Well, with that draw, we don't really need to play Blood Dragon. We could play more cool and then ward it up and just really hope that it doesn't have he doesn't have another negation. The other play is letting him get the buff.
Honor and blood.
No matter what, if I play the other more cool, it dies for free. I can only ward one of them up. Yeah, a lot of the mid-range mirrors are pretty simple when it all comes down to it if both players trade and phase correctly, because you can't miss turn 2. You just can't, if you don't get the ring especially. We did get a 1-drop, which makes it not as bad as it could have been, but it was still pretty awful. Sometimes with the ring you can miss turn 2, because your ring will smooth out the curve, but not one of those times.
I am ready to join the circle.
In order to have any chance, I think we need a Shrieking Harpy.
The city is safe in my hands. No one can keep them safe from me. Close ranks, let nothing through.
I keep a spare blade in my boot. Protect the Harbinger!
I hate to make plays like this as the proactive deck. But we're both pretty proactive and he had a good start. Oh, there's a Harpy. Well, I mean, I guess we can play it and make a half-assed attempt to race here, but I don't think it's gonna go well. He's still drawing cards. And all that work clearing and it still wasn't good enough to prevent lethal. Disappointing. Again, I think we full ship and try to find a 1 or a 2. We do have the ring, so that's helpful. But Skaven Pyromancer's not the greatest against Scout usually. Unless he's Aggro Scout, or Goblin Scout or something. This is not the kind of draw you want. Give me a play. Oh, thank you, Gabe.
By the 8th, they will meet their makers.
If I fall, the hiss will reclaim me.
Well, I'm not just gonna assume he has movement, and this hand could really use the ring.
I am ready to join the circle.
Circling Issue was in my opener, and I could have rung it out on turn 1 into the Daggerfall. We would have been able to have a much more aggressive start. But this could hopefully be okay as well. Jarl gives me a lot of hope for this hand. Should be very strong in this matchup.
Sheol, take you.
The Walker watches over me.
And this card is really good against Scout nowadays. There was a time when it wasn't very good against Ram Scout because they almost never played actions except for occasionally Crushing Blow and Shadow Shift here and there. But now with the shouts, I mean, I guess this has been the case for like the last 6 months, but you know, it's still a far removal from how it was against Scout or Control Scout decks a year ago. But preventing Drained Vitalities and Soul Tears from being easily activated is a big deal.
You must be cleansed.
A dark omen for you.
Sheol, take you.
Tide turns.
I was debating just playing the Battlemage there. I'm kind of surprised that the Shadowfen Priest wasn't in the same lane as as my creatures. I mean, yeah, I would have gotten a tome, but it's still a lot of time and effort to actually not let the Shadowfen kill something. He's got to be at least somewhat concerned about the damage, right?
The Night Mother will guard us.
No, he does not.
Close ranks, let nothing through. Ride them down. A dark omen for you.
I think I like the Ogrim here. Probably better than Battlemage on the 1-2, because if he does have another level 3 Drain Vitality, well, if he has another level 3 Drain Vitality, we're going to lose. But this time, we lose with a Lumbering Ogrim still on the board. As a 5-1, because he'll trade in.
The forest is my cloak.
It also would have made a pretty juicy Leaf Lurker target. Okay, so how much damage do I have? I could bounce this with Belligerent Giant, because the only target is a 1-2 or a 2-2. That's not great, right? I have 10 damage. 14 if I want to use Battle Mace. Battle Mace Harpy. I'm Battle Macing this, I suppose. This is a Leaf Lurker target, and he just pings off the thing. And it's a Drain Vitality.
Honor and blood, a dark omen for you.
Fortunately, we are one turn away from Red Brahmin. Which is another card scouts usually have in the top 15 or so cards.
I lurk in the shadows, waiting.
Reverse.
Pull the black card.
Fortunately, we have just enough. And bypass the last rune too. We actually had a bit more damage if we wanted. We could Earthbone Spinner the Withered Hand Cultist, which would actually remove the stab modification from the Drain Vitality. The more you know. They'd be back to a 3-4. But we couldn't actually afford to do that if we wanted to also clear the guard. Crusader, and we don't have the ring, but we have a Wardcrafter and a Daggerfall. I don't think this deck should do too good against tokens unless we're able to draw Skaven. Alright, we have a 1, 2, 3, and a 4. I can't really complain now.
I keep a spare blade in my boot.
May you walk on warm sands.
I forgot who unsmurfed me. Is it someone's alternate account? I can't remember who.
There's always a plan.
Let's try to get that favorable.
Careful there, friend. Do your worst.
Cannot let the board get out of control against tokens. That's a bummer.
Will not get past me.
Wait! Did you hear that?
You won't spoil my plan.
These two are trading. Honestly, I might just do that right now. If I wait, he could play Makeshift Defenses into Resolute Ally, and then this is stranded against a 1-3 guard. It feels pretty bad, and he can still activate Pit Lion next turn. Already things are looking grim.
Your blood will spy the ache. They will meet their makers.
And it's not like a Resolute Ally in this lane isn't still a complete blowout. But Pit Lion forces the defenses over here, and then I would be able to trade with these.
Your orders.
I'll play this against the Lion, I guess. Oh, tokens that use the ring in all 3 of the first turns. Hit, miss. Okay.
You won't foil my plan.
I have the dagger. Could be worse. Could be a lot better, but it could be worse. Oh, man. Okay. I guess I'll just dagger and cultist. Maybe it blocks next turn's Crusader's Assault or Imperial Reinforcements.
Waka watches over me.
I hear you obey.
You won't foil my plan.
Gonna need a prophecy.
Can't defeat us.
But actually, I don't get a prophecy. Don't even get a shot. Yeah, I just need to focus on clearing as much damage as possible, which means Earthbone Spinner for the hopeful 2-for-1 here against the two largest creatures currently on the board. And if he has Pitline at this point, I would assume he'd be able to play it with the 2-drop anyway. This needs to low roll like it's never low rolled. That's not a low roll. That is definitely not a low roll. But I can actually remove... Just kidding. Okay. So that's definitely gonna have to get a Shrieking Harpied.
The day is mine.
Let's heat things up.
Which means he gets another proc of the Hoffinger. But at least I'm on the board now. It feels good. It feels really good. I'm at an effective 7, but besides that, it feels good. And I can never let anything else live ever. Which is not ideal. Because any attack with the Heirloom Greatsword is just gonna be lethal. Sure. Okay. So, God, he needs to play nothing. I need to guard the Shadow Lane, but then he's just gonna play something else in the field lane. That's fine. So here I'm setting up for Crown Quartermaster and double trades, but if you play something else in the field lane, I can just Belligerent Giant this and trade with whatever else there is. I wish he would stop drawing cards. So I have to keep the board 100% clear. Forever.
The day is mine.
Well, I mean, something in the Shadow Lane's fine, but removal is a thing.
The day is mine.
I'll kill you where you stand.
So he has Heirloom Greatsword in his hand, which is pretty expensive. He has a Hoffinger in his hand, which is pretty expensive. If he only plays Hoffinger, I can remove it again. But I imagine he's going to play all of the other cards in his hand this turn. And that's a problem. Unless I top deck a Cradle Crush.
It's time to act.
Even if I top deck a Cradle Crush. Okay. And I also have to balance how much I need to go in if I want to kill him in a reasonable amount of time, too. I have another Belligerent Giant and a Crown Quartermaster to play. Do I just go in for the 8 damage?
I'll kill you where you stand. Honor and blood.
Let's assume this dies, because he can always kill this. I'll have 14 with the 2 Giants, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. That's 20, actually. 14, 15, 16, 20, 22. So it's already lethal. Then I have Encano and a Dagger in my hand. And this deck only really plays Cloud Rest Illusionist for defensive prophecies. So yeah, this is just going to have to get the job done. Another Crusader's Assault, and I am not actually dead because he can't afford Crusader's Assault and Greatsword. I don't think where the Crown Quartermaster goes really matters here. So let's hope we're not dead. And if we're not dead, we might be able to just cheese this one out with the damage.
Training is over. It's time to act.
Soldiers, report.
Your orders.
Alright, I'm feeling alive. And I don't think a single Cloud Rest Illusionist would be able to stop my damage.
You can't defeat me.
Didn't actually even kill that, so that's 2 more damage that I didn't calculate. I figured he'd have like a Resolute Ally or Divine Fervor or an Assault, even if he didn't want to use the Greatsword on that trade, which makes sense. Excuse me. Okay, so with that, it actually makes more sense to go Tome Battlemaze Dagger. That adds 6 damage instead of 5. Alright. So, beat Crusader tokens with the ring. Use the ring in 3 turns. Alright, that was a close one. That was an explosive game to end on, man.